Welcome to Toastmasters Time, the show that's got everybody talking. My name is Manoj Ramanan, and I'll be your host for today's edition of Toastmasters Time. Just like a typical Toastmasters meeting, we have speeches followed by evaluation to help our speakers improve. To walk us through the session today is none other than Dr. Michelle Petticolas, our evaluator. Michelle, can you give us a preview of what is in store for us today?
Good evening, Manoj. We have a great show tonight. We have two speakers from the International Speech Competition for District 57. These are the speeches that they actually performed in the competition. Generally, they do not hear an evaluation after their competition, but tonight they're going to get an evaluation. We also have another speaker who's going to give us a persuasive speech about becoming an area director. So be prepared to be inspired. Back to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Michelle. I am really looking forward to both the speeches and your evaluation today. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Debbie Wright. Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Manoj.
And how long have you been a Toastmasters?
About 3.5 years now.
Oh, fantastic. And what made you enter the contest?
I entered the contest. I wanted to challenge myself, and I've really enjoyed the entire process. I think it's a way to sharpen your skills very quickly.
Fantastic. And if I remember correctly, you spoke in front of nearly 500 people, right?
It was a lot of people there this year, absolutely.
Fantastic, fantastic. And what's been your learning outside of Toastmasters?
Learning outside of Toastmasters, I would say one of the biggest things that the contest has taught me, a Toastmaster lesson that I bring with me outside of Toastmasters, is learning to trust my instincts, and it's really built my confidence in my ability to give presentations at work and also to interact with people.
Fantastic. I'm really looking forward to your speech today. Are you ready, Debbie?
I sure am.
Fantastic. As you get set up, let me walk the viewers through the objectives of your speech.
Perfect.
Well, Debbie is going to be giving the contest speech, and so her objectives are content, delivery, and language. We are in for a treat. Please welcome Debbie Wright. Scarred Debbie Wright.
You were broken, bleeding, burned, beaten, or bruised. Years later, all that remains is a scar. I love scars. I love the beauty in their authenticity. Mr. Toastmaster, my fellow flawed friends, today we are going to redefine what it means to be scarred. A scar can be a badge of honor. Sometimes what once threatened us can now be a sign of our determination to live. What once wounded us can now be an emblem for hope and insight. Not every scar is a tragedy. Some of them are rather common. I, for example, have scars shared with many women, the dreaded stretch marks from pregnancy. Don't worry, I won't be showing them to you today, but as women, we're so hard on ourselves. We always say, oh my gosh, I need to find the latest lotion and potion and cover them up. I just never felt that way about mine. I see mine as mommy stripes, each one proudly earned. And I would gladly take 1,000 more if it meant bringing my beautiful child into this world. Some scars show character. I have a nephew who got into a fight in high school when he was about 14. He finally stood up to this bully, older kid that was easily twice his size one day. Of course, he lost the fight, had to go to the hospital, ended up getting stitches, and now has a scar right here above his lip. So he comes home from school one day, and you can tell he's upset. And you know how young men are. They don't like to talk about their feelings. But eventually I pry it out of him. And he tells me the kids at school have been making fun of him. They call him Scarface. And wasn't quite sure what to say, but I walk up to him and I say, number one, put the video game down. Number two, I need you to look at me. I'm about to tell you something incredibly important. Perfection is boring. There's nothing interesting about a blank canvas. Throughout this life, you will acquire scars, marks, bumps, bruises of all kinds. Each one of them is a brushstroke on your canvas. And besides, no one goes to see a movie called Unscarface. No, they go to see Scarface because it's interesting. You see, it's adversity, complexity, your triumphs, and your failures that will make up the kaleidoscope of colors on your canvas. You, young man, are a masterpiece in the making. Some scars will test us. They will test our self-worth. I have a really good friend named Jenny. She's always doing something cool. You know, one of those people that just make you feel perpetually lame. I'll be at the movies getting extra butter on my popcorn. She's doing a decathlon. So I'm always excited to answer the phone when Jenny calls. I want to see what her latest adventure was. Hey, Jenny. Jenny's been in a severe mountain biking accident. She fell right off a cliff, right into a shrub. Now, the shrub saved her life, but a branch went straight through her leg. Several surgeries later, she wound up with a scar from the top of her thigh all the way to the bottom of her calf. And for months, she wouldn't wear shorts or dresses. She wouldn't come to the beach with us. She really withdrew from everything she loved and all the activities she used to do. So I pop in on her one day, check on her, and we're talking about everything she's been through. And I will never forget when she looked at me and said, Debbie, who's going to love me? Who's going to love me with this hideous scar on my leg? What do you say to that? I did my best. I looked at my dear friend and I said, listen, the right man will love that scar because it's part of you. That scar is evidence that you are a fearless adventurer. You live life full throttle, and when you do that, you are bound to get scratched up a bit. But my friend, you are no shrinking violet. I said to her what I say to all of you today. Please, don't hide from life because of your scars. Later that day, I shared with her a quote from author Daniel Saint. It said, she wore her scars like her finest attire, a stunning dress made of pure hellfire. And that's how we should wear our scars. You see, there is a freedom that comes with shamelessly unbearing your scars, daring the person in front of you to see what lies just beneath the surface, challenging them to empathize with the pain, respect the strength born from struggle, and appreciate the wisdom that comes with healing. Today, my friends, it will not be enough for you to quietly sit and agree with my sentiments. The next chance you get, I want you to shake hands with the scarred war veteran. Rejoice in life with the scarred cancer survivor. Embrace a woman or a child scarred by domestic violence. Join me in reminding the most scarred among us, not only are they pillars of perseverance, not only are they fierce warriors, they are undeniably beautiful.
Wow, that was authentic and heartfelt. Michelle, can you walk us through your evaluation of Debbie's speech?
I'm going to talk about three areas. Her speech, the content was really inspiring. It really got us to think about a different way of considering the wounds and the damages that we sometimes try to hide, as badges of courage. And the way in which she delivered it, she really used her body and she used her gestures. The only stretch goal I would give her is that she could have actually given us a conversation between the two people that she had that interaction with, so that we could have seen it in actual life. And then finally, her languaging was just fabulous, kaleidoscope. And the one about the PPs, I forget now, but she used a very vivid language. And finally, she really gave us a call to action so that we all could get engaged. Even if we didn't have a scar, we could still reach out to others. Back to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Michelle. That was thorough and insightful. Next, we are going to have our second contest speaker, Jesse Lucas. Welcome to the show, Jesse.
Thank you, my brother.
What brought you to Toastmasters?
I was so shy
Really?
that it affected my ability to career move. Now, I'm retired now, but at the time, I really couldn't move up, and I had to develop my public speaking skills.
Wow, okay. How long have you been in Toastmasters now?
About 25 years.
25 years? Wow. Okay, tell me a little bit about your journey in these 25 years.
Well, I have worked in government, and I've worked mostly in nonprofits, and then my latter, I was a college professor. And as a college professor, you have to be able to entertain the students. And Toastmasters has led me to the point that I can pretty much entertain anybody.
Absolutely, and it sounds like your speech today is also going to be entertaining, right?
I hope so.
Fantastic. Are you ready to give your speech, Jesse?
Raring ready, I'm ready.
You're ready? Great. As we help you to get set up, let me walk the viewers through the objectives of your speech. Jesse will also be giving a contest speech, and the objectives of his speech are content, delivery, and language, focusing on speech effectiveness, body language and vocal variety, and the specific language. Please welcome Jesse Lucas. Going fishing, a dog story. Going fishing, a dog story, Jesse Lucas.
I came home, and this wonderful aroma was wafting through the house. Oh, it smelled really good. And so I went into the kitchen, and I saw something cooking on the stove, and I lifted the lid on the stove to see what it was, and I had my hand slapped. And my sister said, "That's for the dog." And I looked at her and I said, "You cook for the dog?" My friends, times have changed. I remember when I was a kid, we were dog owners, and then we were pet owners, and now we are pet parents. I remember when dogs lived in the backyard. Now most dogs live inside the house. In fact, many dogs sleep in the bed with their pet owners. Oh, times have changed. Do you remember when someone would say, "You're in the doghouse, buddy," and that was something bad? But now when your spouse says, "You're in the doghouse, buddy," you say, "Great, I'll get the beer." There's approximately 172 million dogs in America. Not all pets, but there are 72 million pet parents in America. Well, as a kid, we went down to the dog pound and bought a dog. Nowadays, you go to the animal shelter and you adopt a dog. I encourage you to do that. But I need you to understand, if you want a pet, dogs are smarter now than they were when I was a child. Now, our dog, Pilot, he listens to everything we say. And when he would hear the word walk, he'd run over, get the leash, run back, and he would do that until we walked him. Well, that might sound good, but there are problems with that. For example, a couple of months during Black History Month, I was on the telephone and I was talking about the Black History celebration we were doing at the church. And I began talking about the first Black female millionaire. Her name was Madam C.J. Walker. Here come the dog. Oh, it was terrible. In fact, several months ago, there was the Oscars. And the commentator was talking about an actress walking down the red carpet. And also walking came our dog Pilot. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So we decided that we wouldn't use the word walk anymore. Instead, we'd say we're going fishing. And every time we would say we're going fishing, we go get the thing and walk the dog. Well, that created some problems too. For example, my buddy, he said, "Hey, Jesse, what are you doing for summer this year?" I said, "Oh, man, I think we're going camping and fishing." Oh, boy, and here come the dog. Oh, it's just, how do you take a word out of your vocabulary? Watching television, Watching television, a sports commentator was talking about going to Alaska to go fishing. And here come our dog. Well, going fishing wasn't working. We were getting so frustrated, we even thought about getting a cat. Well, we finally decided, do you think the dog can spell? So we started, instead of saying going fishing, we'd say we're going F-I-S-H. And that seemed to be working. I mean, it really seemed to be working, but the dog would be listening for walk, and he'd be listening for the word fish. But it created problems. For example, my sister says, "Would you like a hamburger or a F-I-S-H?" Well, my friends, it's tough. Now, all dogs are not pets. And I've come here because I want to talk about what other dogs do. I want to talk about police dogs and cadaver dogs and military dogs and service dogs and comfort dogs. I really would like to share all those wonderful things dogs would do. The problem is, I came to this meeting with my sister, and we've got to get home because she has to go F-I-S-H-I-N-G.
That was truly entertaining. Michelle, what did you think?
Oh, Manoj, I really enjoyed Jesse's talk. I love the humor. He has such a natural sense of humor. And when you think about the content, it's about dogs, but there are 72 million people out there who would really appreciate this talk. And also the advice he gives about spelling, because at least so far, the dogs haven't quite figured out how to spell. His delivery was spot on. He has a great sense of timing, and he uses gestures, and he uses a lot of vocal variety. And then his language is totally fitting for the talk that he's giving us, the words that he uses, like the doghouse and the going fishing. The only stretch goal that I would suggest is that he makes a big point in the beginning about how times have changed. And I would really like to see him bring that in at the end. But other than that, he is a master at humor, and I greatly admire him. Back to you, Manoj.
Thank you, Michelle. That was great. Next, we are going to have our final speaker, someone who I have known for a long time, our Area H5 Director, Ashley Harkness. Welcome back to the show, Ashley.
Thank you very much, Manoj.
And you've been here quite a number of times, right?
Quite a few, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And walk us through your area director journey.
Well, the idea behind the area director is someone who represents the district, but basically is a helper for the club. Someone who understands, has a little more experience, and can see things from an outside point of view. So hopefully that's what this will be about. And maybe somebody might be encouraged to want to become an area director.
Yeah, and sounds like leadership to me.
It certainly is, and of course this is an organization where we make leaders.
Absolutely. And how long you have been doing these different kind of roles in Toastmasters?
Oh, I've been in Toastmasters 22 years.
Wow.
And I was on the first time on TV in 2002. So I've been on the TV for a while here.
You are a veteran.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, actually I'm a veteran too in other ways too.
Fantastic. Are you ready to give your speech?
Oh, certainly, absolutely.
Fantastic. So as you get set, let me walk the viewers through the objectives of your speech.
Please do.
So Ashley is going to be giving a speech from our earlier manual called Competent Communication. He's going to be focusing on a project called Vocal Variety. So the objectives is to use voice volume, pitch, rate and quality to add meaning, and to use pause and the vocal variety smooth and naturally. Please welcome Ashley Harkness, my Area Director Adventures. My Area Director Adventures, Ashley Harkness.
My area director adventure started when I first became an area director, went to the very first club, and introduced myself as, I am your area director. The club president, Linda Abley, came over and said, ooh, area director, we ain't ever seen one of these before. Is this something that, you know, you get sick with it or something like that? I said, no, I didn't. Well, not every area director gets introduced quite like that, fortunately. What I found was that there's three things about area directorship that we need to know. First of all, what is an area director? What do they do? And what did I learn from this experience? Finally, of course, there's a hook to this. What is the possibility that you might wish to take this role on one time? So let's step back here. What's an area director? Well, each of the Toastmaster clubs has members, it has officers. However, there is a district that is responsible for all of the clubs that are there. And what they do is they appoint an area director to go and be the representative to that club. Now, in my case, I had 4 clubs that I was working with in my area, which Manoj said was Area H5. My duties and responsibilities included, as a minimum, going to the club 4 times a year. I did it a lot more than that because I needed to get to know these people. Some of them were clubs that I hadn't ever seen before, and I had to find out what was going on. Remember, as an outsider, which is what I am, my point is to come in and see what I can do and what they might need or want. So that's what an area director really is, representative of the district. But what do they do? It's very interesting. In many of the clubs, they're not sure what this area director is going to do. He's going to come in and try and change things, make things different, boss us around? Not at all. In fact, my job really is to kind of observe and keep quiet for a while and see what's going on. Now, in a lot of clubs, they're very strong. They don't need anything. They're going along greatly, have lots of members, a great education program. Things are really just kind of cooking along. But for some clubs, they're struggling. And perhaps I might be the one who can bring them an idea, such as, why don't you guys put on an open house and get more members? Or how about, why don't you actually put on a speechcraft where you actually teach people who aren't Toastmasters some basics about public speaking and get them used to it? Now, sometimes these ideas work and sometimes they do not. That's not the point. The point is someone is there who is interested in helping. So that's what an area director does. I said there was something that I learned along the way. I had a job that took me all over the United States to use my Toastmaster skills in teaching electrical safety. Now that meant I was in front of a whole lot of different audiences. One of the audiences, in my very first attempt at speaking, one of the members stood up and said, so are you going to be as boring as the last guy your company sent here? And I assured him, no, sir, I am not going to be boring. We're going to have lots of fun. In fact, the first thing I want you to do is be part of a role play and lay down on the floor. He did. And we did have fun. But that isn't just the only thing. While I was traveling around the United States, I visited lots and lots of Toastmaster clubs. As an area director, I knew how to get into the information to kind of tell me a little bit about that particular club I was going to see, how their membership was, what their education status was, so I knew what I was walking into before I went. This helped a lot. And sometimes I would pick clubs that were strong, sometimes I would pick them that were weak. Of course, you realize what I was trying to do was avoid being in the hotel room watching television. Toastmasters is a whole lot more fun than that. In one club in Indiana, the Toastmaster was conducting the whole meeting, going down through each part of the meeting on the agenda, but as a transition between the individual parts, he was teaching a skill, how to take the terror out of the talk. So when he was finished, he had completed not only the agenda, but a training session for all of the members. I'd never seen this before. So what do you think I did? When I got back to our district, I told people about it. I brought it to clubs and said, would this technique work for you? Sometimes they would say yes, and sometimes they would say no. But I learned that through my experience, for all the years that I've been in Toastmasters, I had an opportunity to make a difference. What kind of a difference can you make? One time I was sitting next to a young guy who was a brand new Toastmaster, had to give his first speech, and he was really nervous. So, what's the problem? I don't know what to talk about, he says. Well, what is your passion? He runs the Bay to Breakers race every year. And I said, tell us about your practice run. Tell us about running down past the boats in Sausalito and seeing the painters painting the boats out in the bay. Tell us about running across the Golden Gate Bridge and looking down through the grating and seeing the boats go by. Tell us about coming over the high Hayes Street Hill and seeing in the distance the final end of the race. And he did. And he sat down and said, I didn't know I could do it. I said, I did. Everybody does. You're going to be fine. I may have been the spark that gave that guy the confidence he needed. So, is it time for you to take this role? Can you be the leader that comes in and maybe helps a club? If it is, then you need to talk to Toastmasters in our district because there's slots waiting for you right now.
That was inspiring. To walk us through the evaluation is Michelle. Michelle, what did you think?
Hi, Manoj. I feel that this speech is really, really valuable. He packed a lot of content into a very, very short speech about what were the responsibilities. He invited us in by opening with a question. I love the way he opened the speech with his own personal story. That was engaged us. And then he talks about what you need to accomplish, and then that specific story about where he inspired that young man.
Absolutely.
That was really, really effective.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Michelle. I think all three speakers were fantastic today, right?
They were really great.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for giving them feedback. It was extremely insightful. Well, that's our show today. It takes a village to put on a show like this, and we thank our volunteers and staff at the Media Center who made this possible. If you want to know more information about our show, please check out toastmasterstime.com. Toastmasters Time is sponsored by District 57 Toastmasters, and if you want to know more information about District 57, please check out d57tm.org. Again, if you are interested in checking out Toastmasters International or just joining a club near you, please check out toastmasters.org. On behalf of our evaluator, Dr. Michelle Petticolas, and on behalf of our speakers, Debbie Wright, Jesse Lucas, and Ashley Harkness, I am Manoj Ramanan, and I encourage you to keep talking. All right, how was that?